Yo, welcome to Alpha Omega University. Welcome back again. I think I got this fucked up here. Give me a second. I need to change this shit. Get it doing good. Hold on. We had a hiccup today. There we go. All right. Let me make sure this is
I've only
working.
seen 2 behemoths so far.
All right, we're good. All right. Yeah, we started a little late. We started a little fumbled as fuck today. You know what? I was actually set up on time, and then I noticed that we got the first subscriber, the last SAR. I appreciate your subscription, but you know what? I don't know if I just missed it or not, but I don't think the subscription thing came up. Did it? Tell me in the chat if it came up. If you guys saw it, tell me in the chat. If you guys didn't, I'm gonna try to fix that, but I'm gonna have to fix it afterwards. So, but anyway, I appreciate you. Today's a pretty simple episode. All right. It's the VOD review, right? VOD review Monday. So we're going to be talking about Escalation. We have 2 videos to watch today. They're both going to be on Escalation. The reason we're watching Escalation again today, I know we reviewed Escalation last week on Monday, right? But we have to watch more from Escalation because they are the number 1 Zerg in the game, right? And because of that, we have to watch all the things that they do right and the things that they do wrong. Because whenever there's a guild that is very like dominant in the game, there's kind of a lot of mysticism. Like a lot of people kind of like make them seem like, oh my god, they're fucking legendary, right? Like there's this like fear of that name tag, right? You see like Escalation, you know, on the side of your screen, and you instantly start getting like, oh shit, like they're gonna fucking beat us, you know, they're godly, right? And this is not just Escalation, right? This is all guilds that have ever been at the top of the game, right? There's this internal fear that people have about guilds just because of their name tag, right? And because of that, we need to break down the things that they do right and wrong so that people understand that they are not any more special than any other guild. The only difference is that they play together better, right? But it doesn't mean that they don't make mistakes. It doesn't mean that they are perfect. It doesn't mean that you can't beat them, right? It just means that you need to analyze how they play and what are the little differences that they make versus the differences that you make that cause them to win and cause you to lose, right? So very, very, very important that we take a good look at Escalation. Now, last week we were looking at a fight, some of the fights that Escalation had, and the fights that we were looking at, they were with the caller Ben Mage, right? And I told you guys how Ben Mage as a caller was doing really good. And then when the fight actually started, he started making a lot of mistakes, right? And so with that being said, it's like we realize that every single caller is going to call their Zerg differently. And the composition might even be differently based on what caller is calling, right? So today, I had to kind of look at 2 different fights from Escalation, both in which Del Negro's calling, right? Because Del Negro tends to be the number 1 caller in Escalation, right? I know sometimes like NA usually is like Dreaded Legend, right? But Del Negro kind of shows up whenever he needs to, and he is like whenever it's a big fight, like it's a serious fight. If it's a serious fight, Del Negro is the caller for Escalation. That's just hands down across the board. That's the way it is in Escalation, right? And so with that, we're gonna do 2 fights of Escalation versus Prologue. All right, these 2 fights happened so. The first fight, I have to look here. The first fight, actually, I might be able to just close this up. Yeah, the first fight happened on March 6th, right? So this was March 6th. This was literally a week ago, right? Exactly a week ago. This fight happened between Prologue and Escalation. Now, Escalation decided to fight with using ranged DPS as a big focus in this fight. Here's the thing. I don't actually know if Escalation chose to come out with with a lot of range DPS and little melee DPS. I don't know if they chose to come out like that. Like they told their members, "Hey guys, today we're gonna do this," right? Or maybe they just the individual DPS members just decided to play more range DPS this day. I have no idea. I assume that Escalation told their members, "Hey guys, we're gonna try playing some range DPS today." And the reason I assume that is because the way Del Negro was calling for like the first half of the fight was extremely different from the way he calls regularly when they have their heavy melee burst DPS composition, right? And if you don't really know too much about what I'm talking about with the metas and stuff, yo, what's up, Mubrafi? Welcome, bro. How you been? So it's like if you're not too sure about like the metas and all that and what I'm talking about specifically with Escalation or something, good, that's good, man. That's good. Thank you for coming, man. I appreciate it. So yeah, I don't want to get too distracted. So their composition is usually mainly melee DPS burst, and that's the way they play, and they tend to flood the enemy, right? They play the flood style, right? And that's what they usually like to do. Now, here's the thing. That style is very, very different from playing like a ranged DPS, Zerg, right? It's very, very different. And so here, Del Negro is calling very differently in this fight than they normally do. And it's because I think he knows that they have a lot more range. Now, when I say that they're running like a ranged DPS comp, I don't actually mean that they're fully running a ranged DPS comp. Like the Zerg that you're going to watch here, and I'm going to start the video just without comps for a minute, just so you guys, because they start running around and shit. But that way you guys have something to watch. But essentially, the composition that they actually have is like a 60% DPS, range DPS, and about 40% melee. All right. So the thing is that I'm calling it a range DPS because here's the thing. A melee Zerg doesn't really work as a melee Zerg unless it has like 60 or more, maybe even 70% of the DPS in the Zerg has to be melee, right? So whenever there's 70% or less melee DPS in the Zerg, it's just going to default to range DPS, because if you try to play it the opposite way as a range DPS Zerg, let's say you have 50-50, right? 50% range, 50% melee, and you try to play it like a melee DPS Zerg would, you're going to get completely smoked, right? And so this fight here happened a week ago. 2 days later, so on Wednesday, right? This last Wednesday that just happened. 2 days later, the second fight that I'm going to show you guys happened on that day. Actually, I think it was like 3 or 4 days later. Anyway, a few days ago, all right? They had another fight. They had actually 2 more fights. I'm going to pause it here. They had 2 more fights, right? And those 2 fights are in the other video. And the reason I want to show you guys is I'm going to let you guys know right off the bat right now. Escalation right now plays mostly ranged DPS, and they get absolutely dumped. Absolutely dumped. Like, I didn't see the kill board, but to be honest, I'd be surprised if they killed more than like 20 people, right? And they got just absolutely thrown off balance here. It was disgusting, right? The next fight, and this is again against Prologue, right? In the next fight, just a few days later, it's like night and day. Suddenly, Escalation's in complete and utter control of the fight, and they completely roll over Prologue in 2 separate fights. They just like, in the first fight, it's kind of a little bit of a back and forth. The second fight is like basically a one-shot, right? So what I'm showing here is this is the thing about Escalation and what makes them good, and where they actually are weak in, right? And this is important because, again, when we want to get better, we have to fight the best in the game, right? We have to play against the best players in the game, the ones that are beating everybody, right? And this is Escalation right now. This is Escalation. And so we have to learn how to fight against Escalation right now because they are the best right now, right? When somebody else takes their spot and becomes the best, we will do analysis on them as well, because they are then going to be the best, right? So I'm just saying all of this because I know some people sometimes feel like there might be some biases like for Escalation, against Escalation. Here's the thing. They're the best in the game. That's it, right? Everything that I'm going to critique in this fight has only to do with this fight. It has nothing to do with their guild as a whole, right? So I'm just letting you guys know right off the bat. Like, I know some people don't like Escalation and they're like, oh no, like you're saying they did good things, and no, like they're terrible. And it's like no, you have to be objective. And on the other side, it's like if you're like an Escalation member or something, or like an Alliance member of Escalation, and then I go and say like, oh, they fucked up here, and then people criticize it like, oh no, see, we're great, like you shouldn't criticize us because we win all these fights. It's like, no, man, everybody makes mistakes, and this is what we do, right? We look at the mistakes of people, and we also look at the good plays of people, and then we progress. All right, so this fight here is in Frostbite Mountain. Here we have the Escalation Zergs about to be dismounting here. They got Prologue on the southwest. And there's also, I think, different other Zergs that are in here in this fight, but they kind of come in and out. And for the most part, they don't do too much in the entire fight, right? They kind of distract, but that's about it. And I'm only saying it because they're going to mention it in the video. So I'm going to play it now.
They don't have sneeze. Right. Yo, dropper, use purple bots, guide back salties. Yo, good stuff, make space. Oh, good stuff. Make space.
So here they just dismounted, right? And the enemy kind of was a little bit off guard. So they try to take the chance to try to engage west, right? I mean, it's a great call, right? It's a good call. It's the right thing to do. He attempted to hit him west. It didn't work. They didn't get any kills, right? Because right here, the kill feed's gonna show up here on the left hand side on the chat. And so basically, if you don't see anything pop up of like kill feed, then there's no deaths, right? So it's like he tried. It's a good try. Now he's backing up east, and the reason is because he just used cooldowns, right? So he knows immediately the enemy is gonna now have a possible counter. So him backing up this quickly is actually a really good idea, right? So right off the bat, we're already seeing good play from the caller Del Negro, right? We're already seeing good play from them. And also look at everybody, all the players here. They're instantly walking backwards. Like they already know what they need to do. Like the individual members are very good. They already know what they need to do.
Make space. Guide northeast. Make space. Keep making space. Popper food and OC. Make space. Walk southeast here. Walk east here. Walk east here. Keep walking east here. Walk northeast here. Walk north.
So I'm gonna warn you guys right now. There's gonna be a lot of like repositioning in this fight. All right, and I'm gonna try to skip through some of it, but in general, there's gonna be a lot.
Walking east here. Walk north. Help each other on the west here. Yo, just the first party west in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. First party west now.
So here he's just baiting, right? So this is one of the tactics that I'm gonna explain now, because this is like the escalation tactic, and because it's the escalation tactic, it also has become the kind of meta tactic right now, right? Where they engage with one party. Usually it's like the first party, right? They engage with one party, and then they wait until the enemy full counter engages on that group or whatever, and then when they full counter, then they use the rest of the Zerg to flood, right? So I'm gonna kind of diagram this for you. So if your guys are here, right? Forget the background. Let's say this is your guys, right? The enemy's over here, okay? You send one group over, and they engage, say, like around here, and then they all counter, right? So now the rest of the Zerg can counter on them, right? And that's what happens. Now, here's the thing. I want you to notice what is happening here. There's distance between one Zerg, right? And the other Zerg. There's distance, right? Now you cut the distance and you have everybody in one box, right? This is the concept. This is the strategy, right? It's yes, on a how do I say this? Like in the surface level, right, of the strategy, it's very simple. We bait their cooldowns. They get the cooldowns and they hit us, and then we flood them, right? We counter engage on them because they don't have cooldowns, right? That's the surface level, like strategy. The higher level strategy of this is that, just like I said right now, they're gonna flood them, right? That's very, very, very important, because when you're looking at the enemy, if you have, let's say you have a melee Zerg here, I'm gonna put an M here for melee. You have a melee Zerg, and the enemy has, say, a ranged Zerg, right? Great. You want to cut this distance here. This distance needs to get cut, because if it gets cut and you can take your melee Zerg inside the enemy, then what's gonna happen is the enemy range DPS are gonna fall apart, right? So if you are able to cut this distance here, right? You're able to cut this distance here. By baiting them into engaging into you, what you're actually doing is forcing them to come closer and cut that gap for you so that you don't have to sprint all the way to them. Instead, now you only have to sprint halfway into them, right? So this is like the second tier level of concept about this engagement style. This is why this style is so heavily used by Escalation, and why it works with Escalation is because they run a melee Zerg and they want to cut this distance. This distance here is so important. This is why they do like the 1-2 punch, right? Let's just call it the 1-2 punch. So this kind of style allows for you to engage and then flood. But here's the problem, right? Right now, Escalation's not running a melee Zerg, it's running a range Zerg. So when you cut distance, it doesn't actually fucking matter. Because you don't have, you can actually full engage at a full distance. So the only difference that you're doing by engaging in this style is that you're actually splitting your damage, which splitting your damage is not great, but if it helps you cut the distance as a melee Zerg, then it's worth it. But you're a ranged Zerg, so therefore you don't get any positives for cutting the distance. You don't, right? Sure, you're still gonna counter engage on them, right? That's gonna be great. But remember, if you're fighting against a ranged Zerg, right? If you're fighting against a ranged Zerg, then what's gonna happen is you send your first group here. How much are they gonna overextend? Not much. They're gonna launch at a distance from here, right? So then and then they're gonna come right back. So then you still are gonna have to go a far distance to hit them. Because they don't actually have to cut distance because they have ranged DPS. That's the strength of ranged DPS. So using this tactic is actually counterintuitive to fighting with a ranged DPS Zerg. And if anybody has any questions or did I confuse anybody or anything, just let me know in the comments and I'll explain it better. But yeah, it'll come up again and again. This is why I mention it, because it's gonna come up over and over and over and over, right? So let's see what happens here.
Force party west now, and come back southeast, walk east, and kite northeast, help each other.
So here there's three deaths. I'm pretty sure 2 of these deaths are from Escalation. So they kind of traded, right? They kind of traded right now, and they're backing up east.
Help each other. They're gonna engage soon, kite northeast, help each other. Play slowly here. Help on the south, look south. Look west. Yeah, I'm fighting. Yo, get ready. First party again. Only the first party. West, get ready.
So now, I want you guys to notice one very important thing here. Look at the positioning of this Zerg. They are walking west, right? Look at this positioning. First of all, there's a lot of distance between the front and the back, right? So they're strung out. But that's not the major issue. The major issue is that they are not utilizing the space up here. Now, they do have some people up there, but they have a lot of space that's open up there and not as much down here on the southeast, right? And it's like they have this entire area up here and they decide to instead just engage from the middle, right? Here's the thing. Remember, Escalation is a melee Zerg. When you're a melee Zerg, what you want to do is you want to engage with a melee Zerg. You usually want to engage in one direction like this because you want to hit one clump, right? And then after you hit this one clump, you want to fan out to different directions, right? And spread out from that clump into the enemy as opposed to coming back east, right? You don't want to do that. With a melee DPS, again, remember, you cut distance and then you spread out inside the enemy, right? So therefore, this Zerg is doing exactly this. However, it's not good for ranged DPS because ranged DPS should be at an arc. Because if the clump is over here, the ranged DPS wants to engage at all directions because ranged DPS are a lot squishier and easier to kill than melee DPS because melee DPS usually will run leather, right? And that's a huge difference, right? So you want to engage at a distance where you can get angles with ranged DPS, but these guys are engaging or moving, at least moving as a melee Zerg right now at this moment.
Get ready. Only the first party. West in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. First party west now. First party west now.
So now they're engaging, and look at what happens, right? You have this group here on the southwest, and they all want to funnel this way to engage. Why do they want to do that? Because they are not used to fighting ranged. Because if they're ranged, the best option is going here and bombing over this wall. Sure, you might only hit a few people versus a larger group, but you're gonna hit people versus here. If you go down, here, let me erase this real quick. If you instead choose to go through here, guess what? This other guy's gonna choose to go through there. This other guy's gonna choose to go through there. This other guy's gonna choose to go through there. And then suddenly you're all clumped here. And when the enemy counter engages, they're gonna kill you. It only takes one good disengaged tank, one Grove Keeper, boom, he stuns all that, right? One heavy mace, boom, he silences all that, right? And now suddenly you have literally no DPS, right? So this is very, very important. Again, this came from the fact that back there, they came walking in a straight line. Instead of getting ready for a concave, right? Now they're trying to concave, but they're trying to concave down here, and this is impeding them, right? I know I'm making a fucking mess, but I hope you guys can understand what I'm saying. All right, I'm gonna keep it going. Again, if at any point, I am looking at the chat, so if at any point you guys get confused, let me know. You have any questions about anything specifically, you can let me know in the chat.
First party southwest now. First party southwest now. And come back. Come back, come back, come back, come back.
So again, no kills, right? There's no kills.
Give me Zlok defense, demon armors now. Demon armors, droppers, units, power pots, full defense, full defense, full defense.
And now the enemy's counter engaging and they're losing people.
Give me Zlok. Yo, the rest of the deck southwest in 5.
So they lose 2 people here, right? Now their first engage didn't have to get kills. Their first engage was meant to do this where the enemy counter engaged onto them, right? That's what they wanted. So right now, so far, it's playing exactly as the caller Del Negro wanted, right? He wanted the enemy to get baited into the engage, right? And he lost 2 people, but in his head, it's like, it's worth it because now I'm gonna clap the shit out of him, right? Because so far, everything is going according to plan, according to the plan that Del Negro wants to put, right? So we're gonna play it out.
4, 3, 2, 1. Southwest now. Delete the southwest, delete the southwest, delete the southwest. Don't overextend.
Look again. This is what I explained, right? Look again. Look at this. Oh no, this is the eraser. There we go. Boom. Look at that. All clumped, right? Not only that, I want you guys to notice another thing, right? Look at this guy here. He's engaging maybe the very front people there, and that's about it, right? He ain't hitting anybody else, right? Not at that distance. This guy's going maybe a little deeper, right? And then you have a bunch of people back here, like this Mist Piercer, who's not even hitting it. This Mist Piercer, who's not hitting it, right? You have people, and the center one is obviously the guy we're watching, right? It's NGM2. Now, if you guys remember, when I talked about NGM2's playstyle last Monday, I said he's an amazing DPS, right? But I actually said he's an amazing melee DPS, right? Because now he's playing ranged, and he's not doing as good, right? He's out of position. He's too far back. He's too slow, right? So again, these are the weaknesses of Escalation, right? They are used to fighting a very, very specific way. And they're great at that specific way. Don't get me wrong. They're great at that specific way. Amazing. But when they are forced to play a different way, a different style, suddenly they fall apart. So I'll keep it going.
Do not overextend. Give me the southwest and walk back northeast, walk back northeast, walk back northeast. Occult staff, popper pots, and kite northeast.
So now they did get some kills, but I do want you to notice that some of these are actually their own deaths as well. I think, actually, no, hold on. I think these are the deaths. Yeah, so these are the deaths. Yeah, so I think they got 4 kills here. They got 4 kills here.
Make space.
But remember, they had lost 2 people, right? They had lost 2 people.
Make space, make space. Build space. Cleanses.
And now they're getting countered because the enemy, remember how I said about the 1-2 punch? The enemy did a 1-2 punch as well, right? So now, instead of them being the ones fully aggressing into the enemy's aggressing into them, right? So this is the thing about 1-2 punches is that if you throw your big punch before the enemy, or the enemy basically fakes you out and you kind of fall for their trap thinking that was their full engage, then you're gonna be the one on the receiving end, right? Lechero's asking, what other tanks they have without count the soul scythe? Yeah. So great point. Thank you. I forgot to mention this before I started the video. I forgot to mention this. The tank composition of this Zerg also doesn't make any fucking sense. All right. the majority of the tanks in this fight are melee clumpers. Okay, so what I mean by melee clumpers is like Hand of Justice, one-handed mace, right? With air compress. Okay, that's the majority of their tanks. They do have, I think I counted 2 Grail Seekers, and I think I counted 2 Icicles. I did not see a single heavy mace, although heavy mace is kind of hard to spot, right? So maybe there was one in there. But aside from that, I mean, you're talking about maybe 5 people as disengaged tanks, and that's it. And remember, that would be totally okay for a melee Zerg. That would be fine, right? In fact, with the melee Zerg, you don't really need the Grail Seekers, to be honest. But it would be totally fine. It would be totally fine, right? Not having too much disengaged tanks is actually okay with a melee Zerg, because you're catching the enemy. You have a lot of speed too. A lot of the melee weapons, they have speed boosts and stuff like that, right? So you don't really need disengaged tanks too much. You need some, but you don't need a lot. Not as much as you do with ranged Zergs. So this Zerg is not making any fucking sense because it has a lot of ranged DPS, but the tanks are not fitted to fight, to protect a ranged Zerg. Right? It's absolutely terrible. And yeah, so Leshero is saying one-handed mace don't give you time to drop as ranged DPS. Yeah, that's another thing too, right? So like a lot of people don't like Camland now because they say, oh, well, you know, it's not as good as the other clumpers because the other clump weapons are faster. And here's the thing, the Camland is good because it's slower and because it's so easy to tell that it's happening. And the reason I'm saying it is because when you're, let's say you're a Brimstone player or a Siege Bow player, and you're about to go and try to find a clump. You know what you're going to look for? You're going to try to find a clump, but you have to drop it as soon as the clump happens. And because you have a cast time, a cast channel, right? You have to make sure that you drop it at the perfect time. How do you drop it at the perfect time? You can't unless you have a previous indicator that the clump is happening at that specific space, at that specific place, right? So therefore, the Camland's big ass AoE is actually a very, very important factor for your own range DPS to be able to find a clump before it actually sucks everyone in and clumps people up. People just don't like it because they're like, oh, well, it's easy to counter. Listen, honestly, everything's easy to counter. I mean, I see so many like one-handed maces running like Assassin Hood or like Judicator Helmet or some other shit, right? And it's like, dude, one firewall will stop him. One wind wall will stop him, right? So it's like, don't tell me that it's not good just because it doesn't work with the melee Zerg. Obviously, it doesn't work with the melee Zerg. Camland is what you should be using for a ranged Zerg like this one, and they don't have a single Camland in their Zerg. They also don't have any disengaged tanks. So how the hell are they going to protect their ranged DPS? And this is going to come up later, how the fuck are they going to be able to kite? Because ranged DPS Zergs need to be able to kite. This Zerg, how the hell is it going to kite if it doesn't have enough people to help it kite, right? Those are extremely, extremely important things.
On the north, cleans on the north, help each other. Build space.
So right now they're taking a bunch of losses, right? So remember, they got like what, 4 kills, maybe 5. Let's say they got 5 kills. Okay, fine. Let's say they got 5 kills. And now they're taking, here we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 deaths.
Keep kiting.
6.
First party, get ready.
Boom, 6 deaths. So right now they're trading. Okay, they're trading. Not terrible. They're trading. All right, let's see how it goes.
First party looks southwest in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. First party southwest now. Delete the front line here.
Yo, they're not facing you.
So watch what happens, right? So Del Negro, and I have to rewind it here just to make the point. Let's try to find Del Negro here. I don't know exactly where he is, to be honest. So I'm gonna just explain it this way. You got people all the way back here, right? You got a big group of people here, and you got a shit fuck ton of people down here. These are all your allies, right? Your allies are over here, right? You have a few of the melee DPS and like tanks, enemy tanks up here, and then you got a little bit on the screen over here. But other than that, NGM2 is not able to see anything else, right? And watch the engagement that happens.
Keep kiting.
Saying keep kiting. Okay, let's go east. I see Del Negro. He's down here now. All right.
First party, get ready. First party looks.
Now first party, get ready. Right. He's reverting back to that same thing that he's used to doing. Right. And now listen. This is one of the biggest things I have to mention. Right. the best ZvZ the best ZvZ callers in the game, right? The absolute best callers in the game have the ability to call in different manners for different Zergs at different timing speeds. Okay, I know that's a whole lot, right? But essentially what I'm saying is the best callers in the game are able to adjust their calls based on situations. Okay, based on enemy situations as well as your own Zerg situations, right? Most callers only practice responding to enemy situations, and it only takes them until very, very much later, when they get more and more experience as callers, that they start looking at their own Zerg as a feedback source, right? Here, he's reverting back to the same thing he's doing without paying attention to his Zerg. And listen, I'm not saying that that makes him a shitty Zerg, a shitty caller. No, he's not a shitty caller. Of course he's not, right? But what I'm saying is that these are big issues with the way he calls, is that he is so linear in the way he calls. Every single fight has to be basically the same for him to actually achieve the success that he wants to achieve, right? Because he hasn't really ventured out of that, right? And it happens a lot. It happens a lot. And this is exactly why I wanted to show this particular video, this particular fight, is because he makes a lot of those mistakes. When he tries to do other different things, you're going to see how he starts falling apart. So right here, he's going to try to engage west. Let's see what happens.
Southwest. First fight, look southwest in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. First.
So he's trying to do an engage when the enemy is backing up, right? And there's nothing here really. It's only a few enemies here, and he wants to engage at a full length distance, because if you think about it, the bulk of his guys are right around here, right? He wants them to sprint all the way there to try to maybe catch a clump here, right? This distance here is a full sprint. That's a full sprint, okay? Now, if you full sprint into an enemy and you actually get inside the enemy and then you whatever, right? Like that's great, right? If you get inside the enemy and you don't need to get out of the enemy, you don't need to back up, then that's totally fine. There's no problem. You actually did just fine. It was good. It was a good play. Good on you, right? But remember, again, he's not calling for a melee Zerg. He's calling for a ranged Zerg. And with that being said, right, when you have a ranged Zerg going at a full distance and engaging, they won't be able to come back before the enemy counter engages. And then they get clumped and die, right? Now, I'm not saying that's what's going to happen here. And from what I remember of the video, they don't get clapped here. But what I am saying is that just because they didn't get shot down for their mistakes right now does not mean it wasn't a mistake, right? At the same time, this is another really important point. Just because you make a call and it works out well for you does not mean that that was the right call. It may just mean that you got lucky, right? There's a lot of those factors in these fights, right? There's a lot of little moments that seem like the right thing, but it's actually not. And just because it worked out does not mean it is. Or the opposite. If you make the right call and it doesn't work out, it doesn't mean it was the wrong call, right? There's a lot to the fights. And here in this situation, you should never engage like this with a ranged Zerg at a full distance.
First party southwest now. First party southwest now. Delete the front line here. Delete the front line here.
Yo, they're not facing you. They're not facing you. They got hit by a bomb squad toward the southwest. They're full pushing.
See, they missed everything, and then now they don't even have boots, right? They don't have boots, and now they're vulnerable. So if the enemy had decided to turn around and hit this, they'd be fucked.
Walk southwest, walk southwest, walk southwest, walk southwest, walk southwest, walk southwest.
There's only kill tanks facing
walk southwest.
Side of us.
Look southwest. Yo, the rest of the
Now
Zerg,
they're facing you. They're facing you.
Get ready, get ready. The rest of the Zerg southwest in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Delete the front line.
So he's trying to full engage again, this time with the full Zerg. So remember, he said only first party engage earlier, right? Which is fine. But think about this. Was it only the first party that sprinted southwest, or was it the whole Zerg? And the answer is it was the whole Zerg, right? So now he wants the entire Zerg, the rest of the Zerg, to use their cooldown southwest, but they don't have sprints. So they're not going to catch anything.
Delete the front line, delete the front line, delete the front line, delete the front line by the southwest.
That's a different guild.
Delete the front line by the southwest. And walk back northeast, walk back northeast.
All right, my bad. They killed like 4 people. All right, they killed 4 people. All right, so they did kill 4 people. Great. That's because they're going up a choke. I know you guys can't see it. You'll see it in the video in a minute. They're going up a choke west, right? They're going up a choke west, and for some reason they were slow or whatever, or they got caught. Maybe a tank. We can't see it on the screen, but probably a tank did a really good job and caught them, right? But in general, not a lot of people engaged appropriately, right? That clap could have been a lot better, right? Remember, again, just because it works out does not mean that it's the right call, right?
Walk back north, walk back north.
Probably turning, probably turning.
Build space and kite north, build space and kite north.
So here is actually a really important moment, right? What is he saying? He's saying build space and kite north. This is actually really, really important, right? Because this is him actually looking at the situation and he's actually changing. He's actually thinking, okay, I gotta actually like play this as a ranged Zerg, right? I need space. I can't just flood into the enemy. I can't just envelop them like I usually do, right? He's adjusting. That's a sign of a good caller, right? He's doing the right things right now by simply adjusting to what he's seeing. Remember, like I said, just because it seemed like the right call, just because it worked out does not mean it was the right call. He noticed that his Zerg lagged behind a lot, and that's probably what he thought, and he was like, oh yeah, okay, I gotta remember how to play the ranged DPS, right? Like I gotta remember that I don't have a melee Zerg right now, right? And so this is a really good adjustment from him.
North, use space and kite north, help each other.
Yo, watch left, hard left.
Demon armors, help each other.
Then building on the phone.
Kite north, help each other. Yo, first body self, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. First body self now, first body self.
So now he's engaging southeast, and I mean I don't know what he saw because again we don't have the best point of view, not with this, right? But I mean they don't really have too much that they caught. And also I want you guys to notice that the enemy does have quite a few melee DPS, right? They caught this and maybe a little bit here, but realistically it's a melee DPS, a couple tanks. That's like a happy face, and then another tank, and heavy mace tank. And I think melee DPS, right? So it's like, this is not a lot, right? Like this is like their very front line, right? I mean, if they can delete it, then great. You run right back. Then that's great. You got free kills. Like this is textbook range DPS engagement, right? Like if you look at this, I want you guys to, so here's the clump, right? Forget about all of these guys. Forget about all these guys. Say you have Grail Seekers, and remember again, this is why you need the Grail Seekers, the heavy maces, the Grove Keepers, the icicles in this Zerg. This is why, right? Because then the Grail Seekers and the heavy maces and the icicles make a wall here, right? You isolate this group, and then you engage. And look, DPS here, right? DPS there, DPS here, DPS there, DPS there, DPS here, right? So you're gonna engage at an angle. This is actually textbook, right? Like this is absolutely textbook. So this has nothing to do with Del Negro's engage. This has to do with the Zerg's positioning, right? The Zerg themselves position very well. Here's the problem. Down here, you have a shitload of reds, right? So you should have other tanks that are covering this side, right? You have some tanks up here on the west. You should have other tanks down here on the south. And then you're going to kite back. I'm going to remove all this here. Let me see. Let me clear it out. And then after you hit the clump, you kite north and northeast, right? And you're gonna be completely safe. But again, you're only gonna be completely safe if you have the composition. You have the tanks to do this. You have the ability to do this. So far, right now, this angle is perfect. So it looks like they only killed 2 people. 3. They killed 3 people. 3 people. And now he's saying instantly kite northeast. Again, he's doing the right thing, right? He's doing the absolute right thing. He changed his style, right, in that moment, and now he's actually doing exactly what he's supposed to be doing with the range Zerg.
Help each other. Walk southwest now, walk southwest and then. Yo, the rest of them, get ready. Yo, southwest, keep
There's a
walking.
bomb squad southeast, they don't have cooldowns.
Yo, southeast, get ready. Walk southwest in
South,
5,
south.
4, 3, 2, 1. The rest of the Zag southwest now.
So here, the enemy is actually divided. I don't know if you guys can tell, but there's some enemies up here. They're just off the screen. And then there's enemies down here. So he's coming in this way. And this is actually this is a high level call from Del Negro here, right? This is a very, very high level call because you're coming in between both the sides of the enemy Zerg. and you're choosing to engage south here, right? This is perfect. And the reason it's perfect is because if you engage south, now you can just use your frontline tanks to stop everything from the north, right? And you're going to stop all of that, right? And then you're going to be able to pull right back. But the guys in the south, here, let me erase this here. The guys in the south that you actually engage, these guys, they're going to try to engage back at you, but they're only going to be able to hit you with basically half your force, right? Half their force. Because remember, the other half is up there. So even if they do counter engage on you, you're going to be fine because it's only half their force, right? And actually, I think the guys in the south are actually the bomb squad that they're talking about. And so it's even better. If you can delete a bomb squad, that's huge, right? So this call is extremely safe and it's really well thought out, in the sense of like the concept of where the enemy is standing.
No, the rest of the tanks, droppers, use proper pots, droppers, use demon armors, full defense, give me lock, guys out, help each other.
So they got a bunch of kills, right? And I can't count the kills because I don't know all the names. Okay, so I know this guy's Escalation, so he got 1 kill. Escalation. So this is like 6, 7, maybe 8 kills, right? But now it's gonna come down to the disengaged tanks, right? If the disengaged tanks can stop the northwest side, they're not gonna lose a single person.
Guide northeast, help each other. Don't leave people behind. Look, first body south.
So this ring is actually enemy, right? There's actually nothing stopping from Escalation. There's no disengaged tanks. I only see a meta abuser here, and I see so they do have 1 grove. I was wrong. They do have 1 grove, right? And then 1 grail, right? Grove and grail here, right? But I actually think that what happened here is I think Prologue didn't engage, which honestly Prologue probably should have engaged because they know that that Escalation doesn't have cooldowns. So they should have engaged, even if they weren't going to get anything. Like I said, they should have engaged just to apply pressure.
First body west. Get ready. Walk southwest here.
Here's another thing. And I know I'm pausing this a lot. And you know what? This is just the way it's going to be, right? Because there is a lot to like unpack here. So see how quick he turns around, right? Look at the distance between him and his Zerg, right? This is a pretty good distance. The reason is because he's very quick at analyzing the situation and realizing, oh shit, they didn't engage me. So I can actually walk into them, right? This is a really good read from him. Again, another very high level read. Most callers would not be standing right here right now. Most callers would be standing back here. And the difference between standing here and here is massive because he is able to see the enemy's position. Whereas here, you already lost the enemy. So this is very, very important.
Walk southwest here. First body west in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. First body west only choking out. And come back southeast.
So why didn't they get to the clump? Well, because they're ranged DPS. They don't have the mobility that a lot of melee DPS have, right? So again, he's starting to kind of fumble back with that, right? And also another thing is he knew he was ahead of his Zerg. He should have known he wasn't really going to be able to catch this. I mean, this was kind of greedy, but then again, it's kind of free, so it's not bad. But he should have given his Zerg at least a little bit of time to catch up first.
Kills inside of us. Kills inside of us.
Yo, they have a bomb that's not on the hill.
Help each other.
Towards your southwest, not up the
Get
hill.
ready. The rest of the Zag southwest in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The rest of the Zag on the choke now. Drop your DPS on the choke and come.
So he's hitting the choke, and look at how many people actually run in when they could just shoot from a distance, right? They don't need to run in, but they're so used to running in that they just do.
Come back southeast.
Come back southeast.
Droppers, use proper pots. Leave the choke.
Yo, the counter now.
Give me locks on the choke. First body northwest in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. First body hit the choke now.
So here he's analyzing. He's seeing that the enemy's kind of encroaching, right? He's seeing some people kind of walking down the hill. So he's trying to see if we can catch him. This is basically just a shallow engage just to see if he can catch anything. He's not expecting anything from it. And if he does get even 1 kill, like that's amazing, right? Because at the end of the day, right now, this is a free engage, right? So a lot of callers will actually not realize this, that they have a free engage. Or some other callers might just like try to do a full push or something and then like, you know, get shit on because because their Zerg is not ready for it, right? But this is a free engage. This is good.
First party, hit the choke now. 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 And come back southeast. 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 Help each other. Come back southeast. Help each other. The rest of the Zerg, get ready. Get ready northwest. On the choke. On the choke. Don't overextend. Don't overextend. Hold. Defensive by the
defense to the front.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hit north now. The rest of the Zerg, hit northwest now. Hit northwest now. And come back south.
So here they're engaging, right? They're engaging north. They're engaging north. But here's the problem, right? This is why you can't really engage like this with ranged DPS. Because remember, ranged DPS need to have an arc, right? And if the enemy, so the choke is like this, right? And they need to have an arc and the enemy is going to get engaged. Like the enemy's over here. And he's saying hit them like this. What he's basically telling his Zerg is to engage because he wants to engage there, right? He's forcing his Zerg to make this arc like this, right? Which exposes all of the guys that are here. And this is exactly what you're seeing right here. This is exactly it, right? Why is it exposing those guys? Because, let me clean it up a little bit. Because the guys down here can hit this choke, right? So his left flank right here is exposing because he's choosing to engage at a very odd angle for his Zerg.
Southeast, come back southeast. Don't overextend. Do not overextend. Do not overextend. Drop our Judas, pop our pots, and come back. Drop our Judas, demon armors, demon armors, demon armors, demon armors. Kite southeast, 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 kite southeast.
So right there they got these were earlier, I think. They got one kill, I think. I think that it's just one kill.
Kite southeast, give me Zlocks now, give me Zlocks now. Yo, oh.
And now the enemy's engaging. And remember what I told you. Look at this, right? Remember what I told you. Boom, that's the enemy engaging right there. That entire side right there, right? It's very important. It's very important. People don't think about this a lot, and that's the problem with a lot of callers is that they don't think about how their Zerg needs to position to be able to hit specific clumps. That is extremely important. If you tell your Zerg, hit this clump, you're basically telling them to do exactly this, right? To get in this position, to put themselves in vulnerable situations. And a good Zerg is going to listen to their caller. And so this Zerg is listening to their caller, right? And so this is what happens. Whether Prologue gets any kills here or not, doesn't matter. Because at the end of the day, right here, if Prologue was a really good Zerg, they could literally run them down because they could lose their left flank and then suddenly they get run down, right? But it's not going to happen because Escalation is a really good Zerg. Even though they're making a lot of like compositional mistakes, they're a really good Zerg no matter what. Individually, they're really good, and Prologue is not as good as them.
On the choke, first fighting, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. West of the choke now, west of the choke now, first fight west of the choke now.
So now he's hitting the choke to see how many kills he gets.
First fight west of the choke now. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And kite back southeast, kite back southeast, kite back southeast, kite back southeast. We gotta kite, we gotta kite, we gotta kite, we gotta kite.
So I don't. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. I don't. Yeah. Spicy Lemon is Escalation. Actually, I just saw him here. Yeah. So this guy, they got 4 kills here. They got 4 kills here. Let me see here. Yeah, these people are trolling in the chat or what? Hold on, let me see. The price lower than it. Oh my god, y'all are trolls, bro. Y'all gonna make me fucking ban you for no reason. All right, maybe it's not that Prologue are that good. Maybe it's the name of the enemy Zerg that make them play with more caution. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Remember we were talking about that, right? So it's like, it could be that they're respecting Escalation a little too much in these situations, right? And Escalation is simply surviving because of their name.
Kite back southeast, walk back, walk back, walk back, walk back, walk back, walk back, walk back. Help each other, 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 help each other. They're coming in. Yo, help on the north, help on the north, help on the north, help on the north, help on the north. Help each other, help each other. Don't overextend on the choke. Do not overextend on the choke. Do not overextend on the choke. Do not overextend on the choke. Walk southeast here, walk southeast here. Walk southeast here, 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 walk southeast here. Get ready, get ready, get ready, get ready, get ready. Just the first party, just the first party on the chokes, on the chokes, on the choke. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. West of the choke now. Just the first party, west of the choke on the front line. And come back southeast, come back southeast.
So here he's baiting, right? He's doing a bait, and this is fine. This is totally fine. He's just hitting one little thing here that's right at the front on the edge of the hill and backing up. That's, again, textbook range CPS play.
Come back southeast, come back southeast. Help each other, help each other, help each other. I'm dropping a here.
Fall in north.
Yo, demon armors no, demon armors no, demon armors. Give me Zlocks by the west, give me Zlocks by the southwest.
Pump squad east.
Give me Zlocks by the southwest.
Hit.
Hold, help each other. Yo, the rest of the Zerg, get ready. Don't overextend, do not overextend, okay? Do not overextend. Hold here. We're gonna do another first party engage, Get ready, just the first party, west. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. West now, just the first party, west now, and come back southeast, drop our Judas Demon Armors.
So again, he's doing exactly the same thing, but this time he's going a little deeper. He has to be very careful in these situations because if they go too deep, they're going to get countered hard, right? So he's kind of feeling out the enemy, and that's okay, but don't ever lose your Zerg because you're feeling out the enemy.
Give me your locals, and walk back southeast. Drop our Judas, pop our pots, give me defense. Yo, the rest of the Zerg west on the choke in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now, hit now. Like a fucking truck now. Nice, beautiful. And come back southeast, don't overextend. Come back southeast and come back.
So he said, he says hit him like a truck now, right? But here's the thing. They traded. They actually, the enemy counter engaged as well, and they're both gonna lose members here. Escalation still wins out this engagement though. And Escalation clearly wins out this engagement, but they do take some losses.
Come back southeast and don't overextend. Demon armors. Help each other. Come back. Help meta.
I got you, meta.
Come back. Beautiful. Just the first party on the loot. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. First party west on the loot now.
So now he's trying to break him, right? That's what he's trying to do now. He's trying to break him. Remember, at first he was engaging here, right? Then he was engaging back here. Now he's engaging somewhere up there where we can't see, right? But here's the thing. Look, NGM, because again, the guy we're watching, right? He's used to playing melee. He's firing from here. He's barely reaching the clump, right? So this is where, again, like the skill level of individual players with individual weapons, it starts to affect, right? But so far, they're doing fine.
First party west on the loot now.
And
come back southeast. Get away from now. They're gonna hit now. Walk back southeast. Help each other. Give me locks on the show. The rest of the Zerg northwest in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. West on the...
So now he thinks the enemy full countered, right? So now he's gonna try to full engage with the rest of the Zerg and try to basically break the choke, right? This is fine if the enemy actually countered. I don't actually know because the point of view is not, you know, like a tank point of view.
West on the choke now. Loot. Yo, hit that shit. Beautiful. Yo, come back.
Here's the problem. They only got like 3 kills, right? And actually, I think 2 of them are enemies. So in this full engagement here, look, silence, right? This is fucking the behemoths, right? And it's like they have another behemoth fucking thing here, right? So it's like he's trying to push through this choke so hard. And melee DPS is great for this, right? When the enemy's kind of on the back foot, you can full push them with melee Zerg. But with ranged Zerg, you can't. You got to be a little more patient. And right here, these engagements are starting to get a little too deep.
Come back southeast. They still have another cities. Come back southeast to help each other.
So now they start losing people, right? They start losing good, like Na, right? Na is a really good player, right? It's like they're losing very important players from their Zerg.
We farming them here. We farm here. Hold. First party, get ready west.
Now, when he says we're farming them here, it's like, yeah, I mean, so far he is winning the fight, right? But he's losing some of his very few frontline players, right? And again, he has so few of them.
Party, get ready west. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. First party west now. Come back. Give me locks north. Drop our units, pop our bots. Full deep.
See how deep he went in again? It's like if he's like a melee or something, right? It's like he didn't have to do that. He could have stood back here where this guy Mercados is, right? He could have done that. But instead he went and walked in. It's like, again, these people, they default into their usual play styles.
Demon armors no kite back southeast. Demon armors kite back southeast. Demon armors kite back southeast. Hold. They're coming in. Be careful on the north. Give me locks on the north. Come back southeast. Yo, first party west. Get ready. First party west in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Just the first party hit west now.
So here he got a kill with his first party, which is great. But look at what his Zerg is doing. The rest of his Zerg is pushing up, right? And I mean, if he full sends it here, he's taking a huge gamble, right? But his Zerg is expecting him to full send it. That's why they're getting close. Because they're playing like a melee Zerg. They're not used to playing the ranged Zergs. Ranged Zerg, you would stay back until it's time for you to hit.
Just first party hit west now, and come back. Drop our units, pop our pots. Drop our units, pop our pots. Come back south. Beautiful. We doing good. We doing good. We doing good. Hold her now. Hold her now. Hold her now. Hold her now. They split. They split. They split. Yo, walk in. Walk in. Walk in.
So right here is another point, right? Very, very critical point in the fight. Del Negro was being very patient, killing just the front line, not getting greedy, playing how he's supposed to play with ranged Zerg. There are some things that he's doing that are kind of resembling his melee kind of play style, right? But for the most part, I mean, at this point in the fight, he's currently winning, right? He's currently winning at this point in the fight. When he goes up this hill, it's like he throws everything out the fucking window.
Walk in, walk in, walk in. Yo, the rest of the Zerg. Walk in, walk in. Yo, west, deep west. Get ready, get ready. Give me a good step west in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Deep west. The rest of the Zerg deep west now. The rest of the Zerg deep west now. We deep west now. Deep west now. Deep west now. Deep west now. Deep west.
He's engaging deep. Again, remember what I explained earlier. At a full distance, right? Ranged DPS cannot do that. They can't do that like a melee DPS can, man. And so when you do that, you're putting your Zerg at a disadvantage, right? You're putting your because the ranged DPS have to come in and then like go to an angle and then engage, right? Whereas melee DPS, they just have to go straight in, right? And that's the difference. You're not giving your guys a chance to kind of take an angle.
West now and come back southeast. Dropper, Juris, Demon, Armors, Popper, Pots, and kite back southeast. Kite back southeast. Beautiful.
And right there, he didn't kill anybody. Actually, sorry, he killed one. But I don't know if that's a friendly kill or not.
Space, beautiful space now.
Oh yeah, it is. So Escalation got one kill.
Beautiful space off now. Yo, body southwest, give me blocks, body southwest. Dropper, Juris, Popper, Pots. Get ready, get ready, get ready.
But now look, his guys are starting to fall, right? Now he's starting to lose. Why? Because his Zerg can't do this, right? His Zerg is in a terrible position. And again, it's because, like I said, it's like he threw it out the window, right? He was doing great. He was being very patient. He's doing all the things he needs to do with a ranged Zerg. He was doing great. And now suddenly it's like he got impatient or something and decided, that's it. I'm going to fucking full send it. I'm going to break them right now. And it's like, no, dude, it's too early. It was way too early.
Get ready. Yo, everyone together. Get ready. Give me use. Northwest together. Give me use. Northwest together. Get ready. Yo, north.
So now he's switching his tactic, right? He's saying all people together, full engage, everyone together. Why is he changing his tactic now? Because he's realizing that the 1-2 is too slow, right? It's too slow for him right now because he wants to speed it up. Again, remember, it's a patience thing, right? With ranged DPS Zergs as a caller, you have to be patient. You have to be very patient.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Everybody together northeast. Everybody together north. Delete this shit. And come back south. No DPS. Come back south.
He got one kill. You
guys late. Come back south. Dropper, Juris, Demon, Armors, kite back south. Make space. Kite southeast to make space.
And also another thing, this positioning is horrible, right? Because up here, you have the fucking like the bank. You have a wall here, and then you have another wall like over here. So you're actually kind of boxed in here. If the enemy wrapped around and sent like just like a 20-man group around this way, they could wipe them because they're ranged DPS. If they were melee DPS, they'd be totally fine. But because they're ranged DPS, they could get out macroed here and just get fucking dead, like instantly dead. So like this positioning is not good for him. But again, he's taking this positioning not because he thinks it's good, but because he wants to break the enemy. That's why he's trying to play aggressive.
Kite southeast, build space. Kite southeast, build space. Kite southeast, space. Come in. Kite southeast.
Stay engaging on Piltank.
Help on the buildings. Help on the west. Get ready. We're gonna counter northwest. Get ready. Northwest. Get ready. Give me locks, number. Use proper pump. Give me locks. Yo, north deep. Give me lock. North deep in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Deep north now.
He's saying deep north now, and there's no clumps. There's no clumps anywhere. And so what the fuck is NGM as a DPS supposed to do? I mean, he's in position, right? I mean, it's not a great position. There could be better positions, but this is fine. This is not terrible. It's really not terrible at all, right? This is fine from NGM. But what I'm saying is, like, what the fuck does he shoot at, right? Like, I don't see any clumps, right? Like, yeah, sure, you can say that this is a clump here. I mean, it kind of is a clump, right? But in reality, like, they got so many defensives and everything. Like, there's nothing you can do here. Right? And that's because he didn't prime his engage before he actually engaged, right? So with a ranged DPS Zerg, what you usually have to do is you kind of have to bait a little bit of their cooldowns, a little bit of their cleanses, maybe some of the locuses, right? Because clumps don't last as long as it used to before. And so therefore, a ranged DPS needs to be able to have that clump last a little bit longer. And he's just not doing that. He's just so focused on trying to break the enemy right now that he's autopiloting into just engage.
No, deep enough now, deep enough now, deep enough now. Delete the north, delete the north, delete the north, delete the north. And kites out this, kites out this. Drop your Judas power bots, kites out this. Help each other come back, kites out.
So here they got 4 kills. So that's good, right? They got 4 kills, and now he's kiting east.
Kites out, build space now. Stop it now. Keep kiting out this. Use the good steps to the southeast. Use the good steps to the southeast.
So now what's happening here is he's kiting east, and that's fine. It's a good kite. Like, this is the right call. Like, as a caller, he's doing the right thing. But remember I told you about the bad positioning that he was in. Remember the walls, right? And look, the enemy's kind of just flooding towards them and taking the wall away from them, and it's forcing them off of this group, this area, and off of that hill that they were fighting on, right? So now suddenly they start clumping here, right? And again, if Prologue was a little bit better of a Zerg, they would have sent a group around and flanked the shit out of them and killed them right now. This would have been GG. It would have been over. This fight would have been over. Just because the enemy didn't kill you doesn't mean you didn't make a mistake.
Yo, help on the west. Get ready. Give me locks on the west. We're gonna counter west. Straight ahead west. Together.
Don't fuck east. On the test.
So here he's very greedy. He's very, very, very greedy. He's counter-engaging, right? And I assume he wants to hit here or maybe something on the west that we don't see on the screen. But this is very greedy. And the reason it's very greedy is because you were just kiting. Your Zerg, look at these guys. A lot of them are not full HP, right? You have to give your Zerg time to catch up, right? To heal up, to come back and get ready to fight. And for ranged DPS Zergs, you need to give them a front line. What I'm talking about is you need to establish a front line. So many Zergs don't establish a front line nowadays because they play melee DPS. And with melee DPS, you don't really need to establish a front line. But with ranged DPS, a front line needs to absolutely be established because... Oh, wait, I clicked the wrong thing. Because if you think about this, okay, that's your front line. Let's say that's your front line right there, right? If you're a DPS, you can stand here, right? If you're a ranged DPS, great, right? But what if you don't have a front line and like you have a tank there and maybe a tank there and tank there and tank there and a tank there? As a ranged DPS, where the fuck do you stand? Back here maybe? Back here maybe? But you don't want to stand here because you're too far forward. You only have 2 tanks covering you, right? So establishing a straight line is extremely important for DPS to be able to get ready to engage. If your DPS, your ranged DPS are not ready to engage, you need to establish front line first, right? And again, this is because ranged DPS is essentially harder to play than melee DPS because remember, I don't know if you guys were there for the other videos, we talked about how melee burst DPS is very individualistic, right? If anybody was there, you guys can remember. Melee DPS is individualistic. You kind of get to do your own thing, right? Whereas ranged DPS, it's not individualistic. You have to play with your group, otherwise you die.
One, deep west now. Straight ahead on the backline. Delete west by the wall. And kites out this. Walks out this. Give me locks. Kites out this. Okut staff to the southeast.
So then I think they got 3 kills there, and now they're getting countered, right?
To the southeast.
Now the thing is, it's like you can't really see it, and NMGM doesn't play with name tags on the allies, so it's hard to see. So you kind of have to stare down here.
Okut staff to the southeast.
They pulling north.
Walk northwest now.
Now remember, there is another group in this fight, right? There's another group in this fight. They're like 30 guys, but I'm pretty sure that right now they just flanked Prologue, and that's where Prologue is turning around on them.
Walk north. Look north. Come inside of the. Come inside here. Yo, get to right northwest in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Deep north together now. Beautiful.
So it's not a bad engage, but he can't go deep. He needs to come back as soon as possible because, again, look at the position he's putting his Zerg in, right? Now there's this wall here, and I'm pretty sure there's a wall up there. And so his guys are clumping hard here, right? They don't have a lot of ways out. So, again, this is why you need so many disengaged tanks with a ranged DPS Zerg.
Come back southwest. Drop your Judas Demon Armors. Give me north. Kite southwest. Build space. Don't let them go in. Walking northeast. Come back southwest and walk in.
So he's saying walk in northeast, come back southwest, walk in northeast, come back southwest, right? Because he's analyzing what the enemy's doing, right? He doesn't know what they're doing. He doesn't know what he should be doing in response to what they're doing, right? And that back and forth that hesitation is never good, right? If you don't know what to do as a caller, the best thing I can say is just back off. Just back off. Slow it down. It's okay to slow it down. You don't have to keep the pace of the fight 100% at all times. If you don't know what's going on, or you kind of need a little bit of information, or maybe your brain needs to catch up for a minute, slow it down. That's okay. Back off, slow it down, right?
Inside of the chest again. Come back southwest, walk inside of the chest again. Come back southwest, walk inside of the chest again. Walk inside of the chest again. Walk inside of the
They're
chest
wrapping
again.
east around the war chest.
I see. Be ready for the engage here. Be ready for the engage here. Be ready for the engage here.
So here he's saying be ready for the engage. He's expecting the enemy to engage into him. But to be honest, with this tiny ass choke, why would the enemy engage into him? I mean, unless the enemy's an absolute idiot, right?
Walk southwest now. Walk southwest of the war chest. Dimmu's locked. Walk southwest of the war chest. Southwest of the war chest. Southwest of the war chest. Go southwest of the war chest. Don't cross. And look southeast.
So here this play of going southwest around the chest and going out of the chest is good. However, look at how everybody's kind of coming out southwest and then straight around, right? Very few people are coming and checking the south, right? I know you only see a couple, but you don't need more than a couple for a bomb squad, do you? Right? So what I'm saying is this is a good play from Del Negro, but this is a terrible play from the Zerg. And also, the guy that should be coming straight southwest here should be a disengaged tank, right? But if they don't have disengaged tanks, then, I mean, they can't do it, right?
No, look southeast now. 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 Walk into them. Tanks walk into them. Tanks walk into them. Walk southeast here, boys. Walk southeast here. Yo!
So here, the enemy and him are walking parallel to each other, trying to beat each other to the angle, right? Because the enemy has a choke here. Basically, what Prologue wants to do is they want to try to come in this way and then have this concave and engage on him this way, right? That's what Prologue wants to do. So Del Negro knows, and again, this is a sign of a good caller, right? Del Negro knows that he needs to cut this off so that the enemy can't do that. He can't wrap around him, and that way he can keep his angle.
Southeast, get ready. Southeast, you got it in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Southeast, you got it now. Southeast, give me blocks. Southeast, you got it.
So here they both engaged each other at the same exact time, right? They both literally decided to engage each other at the same exact time. However, because they were so together, right? The Escalation guys, they were so together and they were all coming in a straight line. Prologue actually was a little bit better spaced. And so because of that, a lot of the Escalation guys get killed. Now they do get kills, right? And it's kind of like a trade. But again, this is very painful for Escalation because Escalation doesn't have a lot of disengaged tanks. So they can't be losing their front line and their back line is squishy. See, like, look at this, right? They only have 2 tanks left alive in their party, right? Like, this is exactly what I'm talking about.
Did it choke. Guide back west and look northeast. They split. Yo, walk northeast. 15 seconds. Walk northeast and look east. Walk east here. They southeast of us. Get ready. Hold here.
So here, he's actually coming east and establishing a front line saying, hold here. And I want you guys, this is exactly what I was explaining earlier, so I'm going to rewind it so you guys can actually get a good sense of it.
Guide back west and look northeast. They split. Yo, yeah. Walk northeast. 15 seconds. Walk northeast and look east. Walk east here. They southeast.
No tanks there in the front. Lechero says, yeah. I mean, they don't have too many. That's the thing. They've lost their front line. And they didn't have that many, so that's why they keep losing them.
Southeast of us, get ready.
Okay, now look at this. He's saying, walk northeast. They're gonna be southeast of us, whatever, right? Great. Look at these guys. The range DPS, like I told you, right? Remember what I was explaining about they need to have the front line established, right? So if a front line establishes, these guys are gonna go right here and then spread to the east or to the north and south, and then basically be a straight line behind the front line, right? But if you don't establish that front line, then people are not going to know where to stand and they're going to stand in all different directions. Okay? I want you guys to pay attention to these guys. Look at what they do.
Get ready.
Look at this.
Hold here.
You see that? Straight north. As line established, hold here. Line is getting established. Okay, I'm going to establish myself at a concave position.
Hold here.
Look at that.
Hold here. Demon armors.
And the other guys are establishing southeast, right? This is textbook range DPS play. Absolutely textbook. And you see what literally just a couple seconds from the caller, right? Just a couple seconds from the caller saying, hey, let's establish a front line, right? Let's hold here for a second, right? Let's give the guys a second to kind of spread, right? Just a few seconds of doing that, and suddenly you have a Zerg that is much better off and much better ready to engage the enemy.
Armors, walk back west. Kills and kills and kills and kills and kills guys out of us. Kills guys out of us. Loop southeast. Yo, just hit the front line here. Hit the front line here. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hit the front line southeast here. Don't overextend. Just hit the choke. Don't overextend.
So he's hitting the choke, just the front line, and then he's gonna come right back. Like this is again. He's playing patient again, right? He kind of switched it up again, starting to play patient. That's good.
Not overextend. Walk back. Demon armors. Make space now. Kite west. Give me his locks. Kite west. Give me his lock. Kite west. Give me his lock. Kite west. Give me his lock southeast. Give me his lock southeast. Give me his lock southeast.
So now the enemy's counter-engaging.
Give me his lock southeast. Walking then now. Southeast now. Walking then southeast now. They don't have CDs. Yo, 10 seconds. Walk.
But that wasn't a full engage from prologue. That was maybe like 20 guys, right? Because otherwise they would have lost some people at the front, and they didn't.
Southeast. Walk southeast. We're gonna bump southeast.
Now, I want you guys to pay attention to the location here, okay? There's this wall here, right, in a tree, right? I think there's a tree, right? So these guys are coming along this way and are gonna have to go around this way, right? Now, these guys are also gonna do the same thing, and these guys are also gonna do the same thing, right? Exactly how I told you guys earlier, they're gonna clump here, right? This is why I explained it. It's because this happens every time. In fact, I'll tell you guys, as a caller, when I first started calling back in like the early 2018, the very first like quote unquote strategy that I learned to kind of execute as a caller was the corner strategy. So basically, if I had my Zerg here, I would, and the enemy Zerg was over here, I would walk back this way and then cut straight southeast, and then I would hold my Zerg here, because then I would wait. So I would hold my Zerg here, and then I would wait for the enemy Zerg to follow. And when they cut this corner and all clumped in this corner, that's when I would engage that corner. And then I would just come right back for free. Like this strategy is as old as the game, right? It's the very first strategy I ever learned to play as a caller, right? So here, this is what's gonna happen, and this is why people are so hesitant to go through that choke.
We're gonna bump southeast. Get ready. Yo, take over south in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Down the choke, heat southeast.
So now his guys, now NGM's actually doing a decent job here to try to shoot over the wall, but that's not really what the caller's saying. The caller's saying, I want you to walk in, right? I want you guys to flood the enemy, right? He's kind of reverting to what he was used to doing, right? Which is just flooding the enemy with melee DPS. And that's not what he should be doing, but that's what the call is. So he's actually going against the call. But that's probably because he knows that the call is not gonna turn out well, right? Because look at this, they're all clumped. Right, just like I told you guys, they're all clumped, and they're divided.
No, down the choke, hit southeast. 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 Take over southwest.
Not a single kill.
Take over southwest. Take over southwest. Take over southwest. Spread by the southwest. Spread by the southwest.
And now he said spread by the southwest. Now remember what was to the southwest of where Del Negro was standing? It's just a wall, right? It's a wall. So, I mean, he's not gonna have a lot of space to spread down there.
Full defense, give me blocks. Full defense. Stop them. Flank them. Give me full defense.
And that's like 5 deaths.
Yo,
4. No, 5.
Walk into that now. They miss it. Walk into that.
He said they missed, but actually they're like 8 deaths, right? He said they missed. They didn't miss. They didn't miss, right? And I think that he knows that. I think a lot of callers, what they do is they tend to say, oh no, we're good, because they don't want their Zerg to panic, right? Because panic can kill your Zerg, right? So it's not that he's an idiot and he doesn't actually realize that they got fucking clapped. It's probably that he's trying to keep his Zerg cohesion, which is actually a really good thing.
Yo, 10 seconds southeast. Get ready. Walk into them. 7 seconds.
Yeah, remember that wall I told you guys about? That like he was telling his Zerg to spread, and there's also fucking dungeon. He's telling his Zerg to spread in this fucking area, man. Like he should have just pulled out. But again, it's because he's playing like a fucking melee DPS Zerg. Like he switched it up again, right? See how many times this man goes from I'm fighting like a melee, I'm fighting like a ranged, I'm fighting like a melee, I'm fighting like a ranged. And every single time he fights like a ranged DPS Zerg, he's doing well. He's winning. But the moment he flips back into melee, he starts losing.
It's gonna be a full wipe. They kite east. Get ready. Southeast dipping. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Northeast now, northeast now, northeast now, northeast now, northeast now, northeast now. Straight ahead of the backline, northeast, straight ahead of the backline.
Very engaged in the middle now.
So here they got about 6 kills, six or 7. I think one of them is the other side. So 6 kills.
Give me blocks and spread by the southwest. Give me blocks, spread by the southwest. Spread by the southwest. Full defenses now. Full defense, spread by the.
And now the enemy's gonna get kills on them.
Full defenses, full defenses. Yo.
Because even though the engage went well, look at the position again, right? Look at the position again, right? Even though the engage went well, they're still in this shitty ass situation where ranged DPS don't do well in these tight ass environments like this.
Go soft, go soft. Help each other self, help each other self. Help each other self, help each other self. Get ready, get ready, get ready. We're gonna counter northwest. We're gonna counter northwest. They're going to the choke. They're going to the choke in 5, 4, 3, 2.
So again, I think the other Zerg came in and tried to flank Prologue again at this point.
1, he smashed the choke now. He smashed the choke together now. He smashed the choke together now. He smashed the choke together now. By the way, by the choke. And kites out this, build space, stop them. I'm dropping you. Kites out this.
So the guys on the east are Prologue as well. They're like Prologue is on both sides here because I'm pretty sure this east group is I think might be the bomb squad.
Kites out this, help each other here, help each other.
There's a group on the east.
Who the fuck's that motherfuckers? Yo, walks out this here, walks out.
So see how the deaths are popping up over here, like on the far west. That's I think that's the other group kind of just bothering the fuck out of Prologue. So this entire fight, the other group's been like annoying the shit out of Prologue, right? So it's kind of been like a 2v1, but Escalation's not actually working with them. It just means that both are kind of pushing around Prologue.
Walks out this here. Get ready. Walk northeast into this group here.
Look at Prologue just walking into him.
Walk northeast into this group here. Walk northeast into this group, someone watch them. Someone watch them.
They engage from the northwest.
Yo, yeah, stop them. Walk back west. So walk back west.
They're up the choke now.
Yeah, it's like
Walk back west. Walk back west. Yo, someone is telling me that like we are playing 2v1. Walk west.
It is 2v1.
Why?
it's like a 20,
20,
30.
20 man ball squad. Random.
Yeah, 20, 30
Who
people.
the fuck is that guy? Guys? Walks out this here.
I'm on top of them. They're right here.
Walks out this here.
Going north.
No.
Walks out this. No, I'm good. Walk northwest. Get ready on the choke. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. He's matched west of the choke and come back. Don't over.
So again, a very close upfront engage. So this is good. Again, this is the way he should be playing.
Come back. Drop your Juris demon armor spot. Come back southeast. Come back southeast here.
Wait, watch out north.
Defensive. Yo, counter northwest in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Deep west now.
He said deep west, right? Deep west. He's saying flood the enemy, right? Get inside of them, right? Push through the choke. Go all the way through.
Deep west now. Yo, counter west. And come back. Full defenses now. Drop your Juris. Open the armor. Kites out this. Full defenses now. Give me block by the west. Kites out this here. Help each other. Don't let people die. Don't let people die. Get ready. Walk in. Hold. Get ready. Walk back southeast here. Just the first party west. Walk southeast here.
They're engaging on the east.
Walk southeast here. Yeah, help each other. Yo, first party counter northwest in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. First party counter west now. Just the first party west. Just the first party counter west and come back.
So I'm kind of just letting it run a little bit because we've kind of taken a while with it, but essentially like right now they're just gonna keep going back and forth, so you guys can just watch what they're doing, right? I mean, I've explained most of the things that they're doing wrong and most of the things that they're doing right. So I'm just gonna keep playing it until something else that's gonna happen in a minute.
Come back now.
Did he not just speak on the saying I'm okay on TS? I don't know, but I did see him like kind of just literally like about 30 seconds ago, he was like stopping, and I think it was because he was typing to somebody, right? So I think he's trying to coordinate with that other group, because if you look right now, there's a bunch of deaths in the mini map on the far west, right? So Prologue is fighting a 2v1, right? Whether Escalation is coordinating with them or not, it really is irrelevant. It doesn't matter. The fact is that Prologue is getting 2v1.
Come back now. Come back southeast. 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 Help each other. Help. Just hold.
Yeah,
Yo, first
here they just kind of back up east, and then they start coming west. So this is when it starts.
party west in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. First party west now. 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 And come back southeast. 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 Help each other. Help each other. Don't die north. Why you guys dying north? Come back southeast. I told you guys southeast.
There's an eagle inside of us on the southwest.
Don't stop being north, man. Like you guys north, we cannot on the first party. Hello? DPS on the first party. Hello? Can you see me? Can you fucking 2-1? First party west north, man. Like you guys north, we cannot see. Just go southeast here. Yo, first party, get ready. First party west in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. First party west now. 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 And come back. Man, where's my DPS on the first party? Hello? DPS on the first party. Hello? Can you see me? Can you fucking see me? Walks off here.
So here he starts getting frustrated with his first party because it's not doing enough damage, right? Now, here's the thing, right? When you have a ZvZ, you have a lot of focus fire, right? And focus fire basically is when the enemy, when you're getting hit by multiple enemies, you actually gain defense against the enemies, right? So basically, a lot of focus fire in these ZvZs, and melee DPS has that focus fire penetration, right? The resilience penetration. That's what it is. It pierces through some of that focus fire, but range DPS doesn't. So this is why the kind of 1-2 punch with the 20-man group at first is so effective with melees, but it's not as effective with range. It's simply because range doesn't have that resilience penetration.
Walks off here. 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 Kills and doubles on this tank inside of us. Kills and doubles in this tank inside of us. Kills and doubles. Give me locks numbers. You just pop both demon numbers. No demon numbers. No demon numbers. No.
See how clumped they fucking get, man? It's like because they're not used to playing like this, man. They're not used to playing like this, and they get so clumped. And then they also have other people that are playing so far back, right? It's like they don't have, like, look at the space up here. Like, there's so much space northeast, but they just don't take it. Again, it's the same thing, right? This is why I'm just letting it play, because it's just the same thing over and over.
Yo, Zag, west in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The rest of the Zag, smash the choke now. 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 I got kidnapped. Smash the choke. Smash the choke. Smash the choke. Give me his locks and kites out this. Kites out this. Full defense on the choke. 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 Did we got any kill? Skills and ups. Finishing this guy inside of
So remember earlier he said he was farming them, right? Remember earlier he said he was farming them? Well, right now it's basically the opposite starting now, right? Because now people that died already earlier and came back and regeared and everything are dying again, right? Remember I mentioned earlier Na had died, Big Body Blunt had also died, right? These guys literally just died again, right? And this is because of the way that he's kind of playing so back and forth, and how he tries to get really aggressive when he shouldn't, right? He's just misreading the situation, and a lot of it has to do with the style that he's playing, and he's just not used to it, right? And I'm not saying that he can't get used to it. I'm just saying he's not used to it right now.
North here. Finish the tank north here. Finish the tank north. Come back south. Come back southeast. 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 Back southeast. Come back southeast. Man, we didn't got one kill. Come on. What you guys doing? Hold here.
That's fun.
So here they walk back, they walk east, and then they come. So they were over here, down here on the south, very far south corner of the map. The gate is to the southeast, right? So this is the road leading to the gate. And the deaths are happening in the west right now because there's enemies down there, and so they kind of just rotated a little bit, but that's basically all that happened.
Yeah, I'll mount up and check what they're doing.
Get ready.
So now they're a little bit farther northwest.
Well, let's wipe.
You can catch
Yo,
them.
get ready.
Catch them.
Yo,
They're
northwest.
engaging.
3, 2, 1. Northwest.
So what did he say? Let's catch them, right? This is the absolutely, like, this is like the last straw of this. And look at this, the party. Most people regeared and came back already, right? So he's kind of healthy here. It's like kind of like a reset in the fight, right? And this is when he kind of just loses the patience of the fight. I mean, it's been a long fight. I mean, it's a 21-minute fight. I mean, I get it, but at the same time, it's just that Zerg is not used to this, and he's not used to it either. So he gets kind of anxious, and he just decides to send it.
No, northwest deep now, 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 northwest deep now. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. And walk southeast, walk southeast, walk southeast, walk southeast. Walk southeast.
Can we kill the eagle?
So he killed a little group that was randomly displaced.
Walk southeast, walk southeast. Walk back northwest, walk back northwest, walk back northwest. Give me a good staff and walk back northwest and cross the choke northwest. Walk back northwest, walk back northwest. Walk northwest, walk.
Southeast.
The enemy's trying to catch, right? On the far east here, the enemy's trying to catch on the choke. Okay? And now he's gonna try to counter on it.
Southeast, help each other, southeast, help each other, southeast. Give me block southeast. Yo, we're gonna counter southeast in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Look at this. Silence. Right? It's like he can't counter. Like there's nothing he can do. He can't counter. He's gonna put himself in a terrible situation here because his Zerg can't counter. And he also, remember what I said about establishing a front line? He didn't establish that front line. He said come west, and then he's immediately saying counter, right? He should have just been like, okay, they killed like 2 of our guys, 3 of our guys. What did they kill? Two guys. They killed 2 of our guys. That's okay. Let's establish front line. But instead, he gets impatient. He just wants to counter.
Counter southeast over Duono. Counter southeast over Duono. Shoot this off. And come back. Full defense door, Julius Pop, and kite back northwest. Man, how are we dying? Like we engage and we dying. Walk back northwest, kite northwest.
Well, he actually only lost 1 person there, right? It's not like he lost a lot of people. He only lost 1 person, and most of the party is like full HP. And by the way, this is the first party, right? So it's like, you know, this is his desperation, right? This is his anxiety. He's just kind of like done with this fight. He's kind of just tired of it. He just wants to be done, right? And so when he starts getting frustrated like this, he starts to revert to the way he usually plays.
Any, give me a good staff to the northwest. Help each other. Keep guiding northwest. Keep guiding. Build space. Help each other. Help each other. Guide northwest.
So here, I don't know why he's saying kite northwest. I really have no idea why he's saying kite northwest, because you gotta hold that choke, right? You gotta hold that choke, and you let them break that choke. I mean, you're kind of fucked, right? You're absolutely fucked. So it's like you cannot fight them in open ground. But he just goes and says kite back anyway. Let them take over that choke so we can fight in open. That's his. That would be great if he has a melee Zerg, but he doesn't.
Guide northwest, help each other. Guide northwest, help each other. Man, northwest, you guys die north, man.
See what I'm talking about? Like he starts getting frustrated. He starts to revert to the other way. So he was playing smartly. Now he's getting frustrated. Now he's making mistakes.
Guide northwest, keep guide northwest. So fucking cringe, you guys dying north in there, man. Like, why are you guys going to the wrong place? Keep guiding northwest.
Yeah, right in northeast.
Yeah.
So why is the enemy able to catch them here? And look at this, right? The enemy's up here now, right? They just engaged back there on the far east, and they're able to still keep up with the Zerg. Why is his Zerg moving so slowly when his enemy Zerg is actually able to wrap them, right? Because they're also coming from the southeast, right? Why is the enemy able to get such a good concave angle on them? It's because they're getting caught with these rings, with these snare charges, right? They're getting caught with all this shit. Why? Because they don't have the fucking tanks to be able to peel. They don't have the disengaged tanks to stop the enemy from doing this to them. And a ranged DPS Zerg needs this on their tanks. You cannot play with a ranged DPS Zerg if you don't have those critical components in your Zerg. Yeah, so Latorian in the chat is saying, no defensive tanks, no Icicle, Grayo, Grove Keeper, they just running. Yeah. They just turned off their brains and started running back. Yeah, I mean, but it's not even that they turned off their brains. It's that they're not prepared for this. They just have the wrong composition, right? The other day, I think it was yesterday, maybe 2 days ago, we had a ZvZ with Militant, right? And I started calling, and I called an engage, and it was a castle fight. And I called engage, and it was like, we just got absolutely dumped, right? And it's because I didn't realize the composition that we had was better for like open world. It wasn't like a ranged composition, right? So I kind of did the opposite mistake that Del Negro is doing here. But the point is that I didn't realize the composition I had was not correct for the content that we were providing. And that's what caused us to lose the fight. This is exactly the same that Del Negro is doing. Right now, it's exactly the same that he's doing. His composition is not made properly for this kind of fight. But here's the thing. He could have just not left that choke. He could have just held the choke, right? But him choosing to walk back allowed the enemy to do this to them.
Give me his lock, 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 give me his lock. Keep guiding northwest, keep guiding northwest, keep guiding northwest, keep guiding northwest, keep guiding straight ahead to the road northwest. Keep guiding, keep guiding. I'm gonna let you know when they engage. Keep guiding northwest, keep guiding northwest, keep guiding northwest, keep guiding northwest. They engaging now, they engaging now. It's one CD, we gotta counter. Yo.
So the enemy engaged, and they caught a few people here. Most of his Zerg is clumped as a motherfucker up here, right? And it's like, listen, at this point, you lost the choke as a ranged DPS, and I'll tell you the truth. If I was in his shoes as a caller, I would have said, get out, we're done, we're done. Like, we're done, we're broken, we're done. And the reason is because our front line is not established and it cannot reestablish. You're better off to just run out of the fight, mount up, group up somewhere else, and if you still have enough people to fight, then you kind of dismount back and, you know, find the enemy and try to fight. Or if the enemy mounts up and goes away, then fuck it. I mean, like, whatever. I mean, you saved your sets, I guess. But the truth is counter engaging here is the absolute worst thing you can do. And the reason for it is simple. You don't have a front line established, and your guys are clumped, and you're a clothy Zerg. You're not a melee DPS Zerg.
Give me his lock, drop units, power boss. Yo, counter southeast in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. East deep now. Counter east 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 now. Please give me kills.
So he's countering east, but it's his guys that are dying. All of these are escalation guys, right? It's because the enemy was already coming to engage you. They were already trying to engage, and so you actually sent your Zerg into the death zone. And on top of sending, say, like, they're dying right here, right? And like on top of sending them into the death zone, you didn't have a front line established, and that's so important to a ranged DPS Zerg. So again, the more frustrated he got, the more he reverted to what he knows, which is melee DPS Zergs, right? And that just doesn't work, right? So every single time that he went and kind of started playing or started calling like he's calling for a melee Zerg, he started taking losses. When he was playing as if he had a ranged DPS Zerg, which he did, he was actually winning the fight, right? So for a lot of this fight, he was doing well. He just fucked up at the end when he started getting frustrated and just reverted back to what he usually did.
Hello, DPS. Hello, DPS. Guide northwest. 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 Occult staffs. Give me occult staffs. Keep guiding. Keep guiding. Occult staffs and keep guiding. Keep guiding. Occult staffs and keep guiding. Flank tanks to stop them. 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 Keep guiding. Keep guiding northwest. Ooh, like you guys died north of the choke. Just keep guiding. Just keep giving occult staffs and.
Yeah. So I mean, the fight's over, right? Fight's over at this point. So that's the main point of today's review, right? And I know we took a long time with this one. I will show the other video now, but I'm not gonna really talk too much about that video. I just wanted to show you guys the absolute difference, because we just watched Escalation versus Prologue. And Prologue, even though Prologue was fighting 2v1, Prologue decimated Escalation because Del Negro was reverting to his melee type Zerg when the majority of his Zerg was ranged. Okay? So therefore, let's see now how Escalation does against Prologue when Escalation actually plays the melee Zerg that they're used to, and Del Negro calls for a melee Zerg that he is used to calling. Right? So let me switch it out here.
Start moving northeast right now.
Catch this guy here to the northeast. Catch this guy to the northeast.
Now, give me a second. Before we look at that, I gotta look at this shit over here, because there's a part. Yeah, see, don't play 455 to 510. All right, I gotta remember that. There's some nice gentlemanly words that he throws out there.
They're moving west on the hill. They're moving west on the hill.
Make sure he dies. Make sure he dies. Make sure he dies to the east. Yeah, make sure he dies. Make sure he dies to the northeast here.
Pink now. That's mounted on the pink. That's
Walk
mounted on the
southeast here.
pink.
Walk
Like,
southeast. Soft, take over the west to them. Get ready. Get ready. Get ready. Get ready.
All right, so he's taking the east wall and he's coming west on them, right? So Prologue is on the southwest here.
Walk southwest and then. Walk southwest and then. Walk southwest and then. Yo, beam of.
He's saying walk southwest into them, right? He's calling a melee Zerg. This is what he's supposed to be doing, walking into them.
Start walking, please. Walk southwest and then. Walk southwest and then. Keep walking into them. Keep walking into them. Keep walking into them. Keep walking into them. Okay, we take over the hill here. We take over the hill here. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. The hill is ours. Don't go. Don't go.
He took the hill with only pressure. Realize that. He never called an engage. He took the hill simply by engaging with pressure. Like just Qs and Ws, auto attacks, walking into the enemy.
Don't go on the choke. Do not go on the choke. Walk south. Walk southeast here. Walk southeast here. Walk southeast. Walk southeast. Guys, I need you guys to up the hill. You guys way too deep north. Walk southeast here. Walk southeast here. Walk southeast here. Help each other. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Walk west here, walk west here, walk west here.
So here, their bomb squad killed 4 people.
Walk west here, walk west here. Walk west here. Northwest, northwest. Walk northwest here, walk northwest here, walk northwest here. Walk northwest and look south. Walk northwest and look south. Yo, get ready. Just the first party west in 5, 4, 3.
So here, he's actually telling his first party to engage through a choke, right? Or through the bottom, which is still kind of a choke, right? So this is a tough engage, but it's only first party, so it should be fine, right? And also he has melee. So Millie's not going to stand in this fucking choke and engage. The Millie's going to run all the way in, right? So this is a risky engage, but it's okay.
Just the first party west. Yo, hit this tank here. Hit this tank here. This tank inside of us and come back southeast. Come back southeast. Come back southeast. I'm dropping a Judy for us. I'm dropping a Judy for us. I'm dropping a Judy for us. Walk back southeast. Demon armors, give me blocks on the front line. Give me blocks on the front line. Give me blocks on the front line.
The enemy got baited. They counter engage.
Give me blocks on the front line. Give me blocks on the front line. Give me blocks on the front line. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Don't counter yet. Do not counter yet. Well, do not counter yet. Do not counter yet. Walk southeast here. 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 Get ready, get ready, get ready. Walk back east, walk back northeast, walk back northeast, walk back northeast. Don't die, don't die. Help each other. Give me blocks on the front line. Get ready, northwest in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. First part northwest south. First part northwest south.
So here, I know you guys can't really see it too much, but there's like a rock or something here, and then there's this entire choke here, right? Then they also have this here, and then they have the rock over here. So it's like there's so many chokes here, and this is a terrible position for Escalation, to be honest. This is an absolutely horrible position.
First part northwest south, first part northwest south. Beautiful. And walk back southeast. I'm dropping your popper, pot. Give me his lock, give me his lock, give me his lock, give me his lock, give me his lock. Give me his lock, give me his lock, give me his lock. Give me his lock. Kite back southeast, kite back southeast. They're gonna shell engage here. They're gonna shell engage here. Full defenses now. Yo, give me defenses now. Give me defenses now. Give me defenses now. Kite southeast, kite southeast, kite southeast, kite southeast, kite southeast, kite southeast. Give me his, give me his, give me his, give me his. Walk northeast, walk northeast here, walk northeast here, walk northeast here, walk northeast here, walk northeast here. We go around the rock. Help each other on the southwest.
So look at that. He's going to go around the rock, right? He didn't like the position. That's good. That's a really good read from a caller, right? To be able to notice the bad situation and then just being like, we're gonna take a different angle.
Keep walking, keep walking, keep walking northeast here, keep walking northeast here. Walk so.
So here they just rotate. I'm gonna speed it up here. They just rotate around, and then he gets somebody, one of his scouts tells him that they're chasing behind him on the east.
They're following us? Okay, okay. Sprint southwest here, sprint southwest here, sprint southwest here, sprint southwest. Guys, sprint southwest by the road and look southeast here. Take over southeast and go around. Take over southeast now, take over southeast now, take over southeast now. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
They've wasted full engage.
Okay, okay. Walk southeast here, walk southeast here. Take over southeast and look northeast. Yo, spread by this.
So here, Prologue makes their first critical mistake, right? So far it was okay, but this is their first critical mistake. Prologue is over here. They should cut off. Remember when we were talking about in the last fight, how they were kind of walking parallel to each other because Escalation didn't want to lose that angle earlier, right? This is the same exact thing with this exact Zerg, but Prologue is the one that needs to cut off that wall now. But Prologue doesn't, and that's the difference, right? When people ask, oh, who's a better caller? You know, whoever's calling for Prologue, I'm not sure who it is, but whoever's calling for Prologue or like Del Negro, right? It's like, obviously it's Del Negro because it's these kinds of little situations that extremely, extremely matter to the outcome of fights, right? Because if the Prologue caller was better, he would have known I cannot let them take that wall. But he didn't know that, and Del Negro exploits that.
Southeast here and look southeast. Walk into that. Tanks 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 walk into that. Walk into the northeast. Walk into the northeast. Walk into the northeast. Walk into the northeast.
Now they took the wall and they took the wall and they took the angle.
Walk into the northeast. Walk into the northeast. Get ready. Get ready. They're gonna engage soon. They're gonna engage soon.
Now Prologue has a hill and a little bit of chokes, so they can still hold here. It's not a terrible position, but they shouldn't have let this happen.
Tanks walking. Yo, beam off's walking. Beam off's walking. I'm dropping here. Take over. Take over space by the northeast. They're coming in. Give me blocks now for the.
So they're engaging here first, and honestly, they should have just waited. Del Negro had to come up that hill first. They didn't have to engage here. This was a big mistake from them.
Defense now, full defense now, full defense now, full defense. Give me all defense. Demon numbers. Yo, northeast dipping. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Everybody northeast. Body southeast wall. Body southeast wall. Body south.
See how he's engaging the southeast wall? Now, there's better clumps up here. So why is Del Negro saying engage the wall as opposed to engage the better clumps up north? Is that a bad call? Here's the thing. It's not a bad call. It's actually the exactly perfect call. Because walls in this game are extremely important. If you control the wall, you control your enemy's movement. Because if he controls this wall and pushes this way, the enemy is going to have to come off the wall and go north. And now Del Negro will have a north to south angle on them. He knows this. This is exactly why he's taking over the wall. Right? He could get more kills north. Sure, he's not worried about kills. He's worried about positioning. Because positioning is more important than kills right now.
And walk into that. Walk into that. Walk into that. Bomb squad's going out. Bomb squad's going out. Bumper pots keep walking in. Bumper Upper pots keep walking in. Take over. Take over. Take over. Don't let them build space. Don't let them build space. They're gonna engage too. Bomb squad's coming in.
Look at that. What did I say? Where are they going? Right? Instead of going northeast, they're going north. Why? Because they took this wall. Because Escalation owns this wall now. So by owning the wall, you now control how your enemy will move.
Spread, spread, spread. Give us locks. Give us locks. Number use power bots.
You said, Latoria says this is called Scooby-Doo tactics? What do you mean Scooby-Doo tactics?
Spread, 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 spread. Spread, 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 spread.
So here, this is the last mistake that Prologue can make in this fight, right? They decide to engage this way. They're engaging through chokes, and they're engaging through a hill, and they're also engaging north to south angle. Like, at this point, the caller for Prologue was like getting paid by Escalation to just wipe their Zerg or some shit. Like, this is atrocious. Again, I don't know who the caller for Prologue is, so if you guys know, drop it in the chat. And I'll look at more stuff from him to see if like maybe this was just a one-off, right? But whoever's calling for Prologue right now, this is absolutely like low level mistakes.
Spread, spread. Give us locks. Dropper, use power bots. Demon numbers. Northeast, north in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Down the hill, northeast now. 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 Take over the southeast by the wall. Take over the southeast by the wall. Take over by south.
Again, take over southeast by the wall, right? Remember I told you, right? He noticed that Prologue was starting to get position on the wall. He said, fuck that. You're not taking the position off the wall because the wall is what wins fights. So again, he's emphasizing the wall. Yeah, sure, he hit over here. And then after, he's saying pressure the wall, right? It's fine. As long as he controls the wall, that's all that matters. And that's what he's doing. He's focusing on the wall because that is an extreme important part of the fight. When a caller is able to use and understand the terrain of the fight, then he's able to play at a much higher level than every other caller in the game, right? The best callers in the game are able to assess terrain features and use them in a fight, exactly like Del Negro's call is doing here.
Southeast battle, take over southeast battle, and keep coming. Keep the pressure northeast. Keep the pressure northeast. I'm dropping a unit here. Yo, they're gonna counter south here. They're gonna counter on top of me. Get ready, get ready. Walk into them. Walk into the north. Walk into the north. Walk into the north. Walk into the north. Walk into the north.
Again, look at their position. They're not at the wall. Why? Because Del Negro won the wall, right? Now they can turn around and hold the wall here, right? And try to make a line, but they have to basically make a front line in order to establish themselves on the wall again, right? They have to fight for the wall, right?
Be ready for the counter here. They're gonna counter. They're gonna counter soon. They're done it. Full defense.
Now, when I was first watching this, and I heard Del Negro saying that they're gonna counter soon, they're gonna counter soon. In my head, I was actually like, dude, you're so hopeful. Like, you are so incredibly hopeful because there's no way anybody would counter engage here. Again, it's just like earlier. They have no position, right? Prologue has no position. Prologue is not ready for engaging. They're destabilized. They have no front line right now. There's no reason for them to turn around. I was very surprised that they committed this mistake twice in a row. This was atrocious.
Now, give us lock now. Give us lock. Deep northeast. Everybody together. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Northeast no. Northeast no. Full wipe them. Full wipe them. Full wipe.
Yeah, see, Del Negro's just like full wipe them. Like, there's so many Prologues still alive, and Del Negro's like, yeah, full wipe them. And the reason he's so confident is because he just knows. He just knows. Like, Prologue literally just inted. Prologue just inted.
Send them to the fucking hell, man. Send them to hell. Yo, stop the northwest. Yo, we chase the north now. We chase the north now.
Anyway, I'm gonna stop it here because I know there's a part I gotta skip. So I'm gonna skip here. The next fight's gonna start. They just chase them down, so it's nothing crazy. The next fight is even faster, right? So I'm gonna show it here.
Southeast here. Walk southeast here. Walk southeast
Yeah,
here.
they're going.
Get away from the walls. 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 Walk southeast here and bite spingy. Group on me. Group on me. Why are you guys going to the wrong place? You guys going to the wrong place. Come back south. Come back south and go southeast. Like, they're gonna engage by the wall.
No, they're still to the west.
Are they going back west or southeast?
No, now they're walking east. Now they're walking east.
Walk a little bit southeast. Yo, they're coming in. Bomb squad coming in. Bomb squad. Just the first party north in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Just the first party north now. Just the first party north now. Just the first party north now. Just the first party north. Beautiful, beautiful. And come back south. Come back south.
So here they caught some of the people in the front, right? Actually, I think I skipped a part. No.
Come back south. Come back south. Come back south. Come back south. Come back south.
So look at the angle. Look at the angle that Prologue took in this fight. They're at north to south. Like, this is atrocious. I don't know who was calling. If you guys know, please drop it in the chat because I really want to see more. But because I don't want to just think that this caller is just terrible. I want to think that they just had a bad day, right? So yeah, if you guys know who was calling for them here, I'd like to look at that.
Come back south, come back south, come back south. Beautiful, beautiful. That was good, that was good. Look, yo, down. No, come back south, come back south. Don't give them none of it. Get away from the walls, get away from the walls, get away from the walls. Walk south this here. Walk south this here, walk south this here, walk south this here. Walk south this and keep walking north this here. Walk north this now, walk north this now. Walk, get away from the wall.
So here they're walking parallel to each other, and there's a choke up here. Escalation's down here. So essentially, whoever gets to that choke first wins the positional fight.
Yo, thanks, be careful, thanks, be careful, thanks, be careful. Just the first fight.
Here's the thing. Escalation got there first, right? Escalation got there first. Prologue should not have full walkthrough anyway. At this point, they should have been like, no, back, you know, but yeah, they don't.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Just the first party side now. First party side now. First party side now. First party side now.
Bounce got a second.
Give his launch. Drop your Judas.
And notice how Del Negro didn't full send it, even though he could have. And honestly, if he did, he would have won the fight here anyway. But he didn't full send it because he's not an average caller, right? Because he understands that the enemy is probably going to try to counter engage. So he just wants to play it safe. And that's totally fine. That's actually better.
Demon armors, full defenses now. Drop your Judas, demon armors, power pots. Everyone else northeast in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Sending northeast, it's a full wipe. Sending northeast, it's a...
Yeah, again, see? Like, the fight literally just started, and he's already saying it's a full wipe. Because, again, they just make these mistakes. It's so easy. It's so easy. Like, when the enemy gives you all of these, like, free kills, or free, you know, positioning, and it's so easy. It's so easy.
Full wipe. Sending northeast, it's a full wipe. Sending northeast, it's a full wipe. Just keep walking to them. Popper pots, walking to them. Popper pots, walking to them. First party northeast in 5.
At this point, it's over. So, anyway, yeah, that's it. It was kind of long, but you know, VOD reviews usually tend to be very long. I hope I demonstrated the point, right? When Del Negro is calling for a Zerg that he's used to calling for, which is the melee burst DPS, right? When he's playing that, he controls the fight completely, man. He like absolutely just dominates the fight, right? When he's able to stay in his element, okay? And then when he's actually playing with like a ranged DPS Zerg, it's like he's just he has no idea what to do, right? I think he just hasn't had that much experience calling for ranged DPS Zergs. And if he has, then maybe he just hasn't done it lately a lot, right? But the truth is like it's night and day, right? These two fights the two videos that we reviewed today, they're both literally Escalation Prologue. I mean, they're the same people on both sides, right? So it's like you can say, oh, well, Prologue had more, Prologue had less at some point or whatever. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, both sides had a good chance of winning either of those fights. So anyway, what I'm saying is composition matters a lot, right? Not only does composition matter, but the way the caller calls the fight has to change based upon what kind of composition the Zerg, the caller's calling for, right? These things are extremely important. We cannot ignore them. We have to make sure that we're able to do our absolute like due diligence to make sure that we're calling the right things for the right Zerg. Understanding your Zerg first should be the number one thing to do as a caller before you ever try to like respond to an enemy Zerg. Okay, so with that, we're done. It was a very long one. The next episode, here, give me a second. I'm gonna try to. Yeah. Let me see. The next episode's gonna be on Friday, a few days from now, and it's gonna be. Let me see. I'm trying to find the schedule here. We should be on episode 5. Oh yeah, the episode on Friday is gearing up, right? So that's the one that I'm gonna talk about, like basically how to make your like a set for ZvZ, right? Like what kind of things actually work in ZvZ and why you should wear certain things and why you shouldn't wear certain things, right? Your gear needs to have synergy. That's going to be the main point, right? If your gear that you're choosing to come out into a ZvZ with does not work with each other, like your helmet with your boots, with your weapon, whatever, right? If they don't work together cohesively, then you're going to be at a disadvantage, right? At the same time, if it doesn't work together with your Zerg as a whole, the composition of the Zerg, then you're again, you're kind of just debuff at that point, right? So understanding how to look at different weapons objectively without just seeing like, oh, well, that one's good because it's meta and that one's bad because it's not meta. Like to actually look at all weapons with a clear view and understanding of what do they bring to the table and how they could be used appropriately in a ZvZ. So that's what we're going to be talking about on Friday. On Saturday, we're going to be talking about different calling styles. So that's where I'm going to talk about a lot, like how we talked about a little bit of the 1-2 punch today, right? Like the bait and switch, right? That's the bait and switch tactic. Like you're baiting them to full engage and then you're going to switch it up on them and you're going to engage on them. So all of those things we're going to talk about on Saturday. If anybody has any questions, you can drop it in the chat right now. I'll wait like a minute or two and then I'm end it. Cutter CT says, can you react some from East server? Yeah, there are some fights from East server that are pretty good. I will definitely be looking at some of them because some of them are actually really, really good, right? The only reason I haven't is because this is VOD review number 2, right? And I really wanted to make sure that I was able to show Escalation's fights and kind of dissect Escalation's fights in the first couple reviews because they're the ones that are dominating right now, right? So that's all it is. But yes, moving forward, I'm going to be talking about East. I'm going to be talking about like other Zergs and stuff like that for sure. And if you guys have any videos that you guys want, I have a Discord server. You guys can scroll down and the Discord link is right there. You guys can just click it and join the Discord. You join the Discord, it's going to be on there. There's a video section. Just drop a video there. If you find any video that you want me to like review, here's the thing. The video has to have comms because otherwise it gets really confusing. Reset day review. Yeah, actually today, Stellar, I was gonna review the reset day fights of Escalation, but the problem was that it wasn't really gonna show the points that I wanted to make today, right? But there are some reset day fights that have happened with other guilds that I'm definitely gonna be picking up. All right, I don't think there's any more. So the video's not stuff. Anyway, yeah. So without further ado, the Friday stream again, gearing up. 00 UTC, calling styles on Saturday, 00 UTC. Make sure you guys follow, subscribe. If you guys want to subscribe, I know we got our first subscriber today, so very glad about that. Thank you guys for all the support, and we'll see you guys next time.
Whether you're ready or